Positions are filled, and we have just come out of the Christmas break, and therefore the commission will meet and then take the necessary steps.
And Top Star is brought to you by Vodafone. Together we can. My name is Ernest Menu.
You know what?
And I did you be uncle. I don't but they got some current. I'm from Wale Wale.
9 days.
I have been here for 9 days. I was scheduled to have my breast surgery today, but the doctor told me that cannot happen, and he didn't tell me why. I'm just learning from you that it is due to the absence of the anesthetist. So for now, I don't know what to do. However, I am pleading with the government to pay them so that they can come back and save our lives.
That's a breast cancer patient, Aminatu Ibrahim, who was scheduled for surgery yesterday at the Wale Wale Government Hospital, but the session was called off because of the strike by the certified registered anesthetists. Joy News is learning that the strike is beginning to bite hard, not just at the district hospital, but now in some major health facilities, including the Konfuanochi Teaching Hospital. We'll take you there shortly. But first, let's get an update on the situation at Wale Wale Hospital. Northeast Region correspondent Ilyasu Tanko joins us with this update. Ilyasu, Aminatu was not the only one affected. We're learning that some of the cases had to be referred to either the Tamale Teaching Hospital or the Konfuanochi Teaching Hospital. What is the latest there?
Well, we do know that there is only one doctor at the Wale Wale Hospital. Today, when I checked on the various wards, the emergency ward, the labor ward, and several other wards in the hospital, it's been very, very quiet. The staff there told me that it's been very difficult for them since the anesthetists declared that particular strike action. And so right now what they are doing is that they are referring emergency cases, like you said, to Tamale. And of course, people that are not people or patients are also being asked to seek health care elsewhere. And mostly those people that I have met today, mostly some of them are going back home to use the traditional method to treat themselves. Yesterday, I met a woman who came to do a breast surgery. She said she's been at the hospital for 9 days. Yesterday, she was expected to go and start the surgery. Unfortunately, the doctor told her that that particular surgery will not be able to be conducted yesterday, and so she has to wait. As I speak to you now, this particular woman is still at the hospital. She does not know her food as I speak to you now, and several others are being asked to go to Tamale, and as a result of the cost involved, people are beginning to go back home to use the traditional method to treat themselves.
Ilyasu, thank you very much for bringing us that update. And you heard Ilyasu there talk about the Tamale Teaching Hospital, where some of them have been referred to. Let's go there now and speak to Northern Region correspondent Martina Bugri, who joins us on the line. Martina, Ilyasu there talks about referring some of the cases from that hospital to the Tamale Teaching Hospital. But how is the TTH itself handling the situation? We understand that they've also taken a hit from the strike.
Exactly so. It means that those who are being referred from the districts to the regional capital will have to wait some more time before they get their turn, because currently what the hospital is doing is it has had to rely on doctor anesthetists to provide the service, and because of the limited number, they have had to reschedule some surgeries, I am told. And so it means that when people are referred to the Tamale Teaching Hospital now, they would have to wait extra days to get to their turn.
And Martina, do we have any communication from the hospital on this issue and how it is managing it going forward?
I spoke with the public relations officer of the hospital, Ms. Bao Mohammed, and he says that what they have had to do is to rely on the doctor anesthetist. That is the only remedy they can put in place right now to be able to offer some surgery. And he says that it's on a key note because there are not many. And so it's having a toll on they themselves because their numbers are small. So that's all they can do for now, whilst they are hoping that the government addresses concerns that they are raising, and then they can allow them back to work so that they can have full-scale surgeries ongoing at the PCH.
That's our Northern Region correspondent, Martina Bugri, bringing us an update on the situation, the impact of the strike by the certified registered anesthetists across the country. They withdrew their service on the 1st of January this year over some issues. We'll be delving into that shortly. But you heard that from the Northeast region, Elias Utanko, who says that cases would now have to be referred to the Tamale Teaching Hospital and the Konfanoche Teaching Hospital. We know now how the TTH is managing the situation, taking a hit from the strike. How about the Konfanoche Teaching Hospital? Well, my colleague Ohimen Teria has been speaking to the head of Anesthesia and Intensive Care Directorate at the hospital, Professor Akwesi Entry-Kusi, and he says doctors are under pressure due to the absence of the anesthetists. Some of them have been working for as long as 24 hours just to fill the gap. He warns of a breakdown if this continues.
In fact, we have been stretched to the limit. You see, when COVID came in, we needed the anesthesiologists. We do intensive care. So a lot of my doctors were reassigned to take care of COVID patients. You see, so now we have some of the doctors taking care of the COVID patients at the intensive care. And then if you come to the normal intensive care unit here too, it's my doctors who are supposed to be working there. And then we have the normal OPD, the anesthesia clinics, my doctors who are, manning all these areas. So in the wake of this strike, I have to call some of them, and some of them have to work extra. Some have worked for 24 hours since yesterday, 8 a.m., till today, and they are still on their feet working. So if this thing prolongs, then obviously they are going to break down. They can't cope, because the referrals are coming from all over. I mean, if you are doing 10 cases and now you are doing 25, 30, then you can see, how big the problem is.
He also notes that systems, however, have been put in place to mitigate the adverse impact of the strike action.
The doctors just came in. Those who are on leave were called in. And then we felt the fault. Usually when it happens like this, you have to stop elective cases and attend to only emergencies. But we've not stopped any elective case. We've not stopped any emergencies. We are receiving referrals from all over Kumasi and Ashanti region, and the doctors are coping. I mean, work that has to be done by 50 certified registered anesthetists now. The few doctors that I have here are doing the work, and I really recommend them for the hard work that they are putting up, to make sure that we don't lose a life,
So that is Professor Akwesi Entry-Kusi, the head of anesthesia and intensive care at the Konfanoche Teaching Hospital. But why are the anesthetists on strike? The association says, quote, none of its members have the license to practice. So I asked, how is that possible? Well, the vice president of the association, Benaya Isi, gave me this explanation.
The act says that you should recognize me as a certified registered anesthetist. However, the council recognizes me as a physician assistant. When we met at our last general meeting, we resolved that we are no more going to pay retention fee to the Medical and Dental Council. And as much as we don't pay that fee, it means that we are on license to practice. So we have given alternative to the ministry that they should extend our retention, the 2021 retention, to 2022 so that we can work. 2, the ministry should set up a desk at the ministry to oversee the activities of the certified registered anesthetist. 3, the ministry should prepare to separate us from the medical and dental, and that is, they should get a separate regulatory body that will regulate the practice of the certified registered anesthetist. So we are saying that the Medical and Dental Council is never for for the is not interested in the issues of the special register and necessity, but rather as for the collection, when it comes to collection of fees, yes, that one the medical and dental council is interested in. So we have given that now all of us, none of us is licensed to practice, and for that matter, we will not be administering anesthesia services until all these issues are addressed.
So that is a vice president of the Association of Certified Anesthetists, Benaya AEC there. They resolved not to pay their dues to the Medical and Dental Council because they say the council is failing to recognize them properly. Per the Act, they are supposed to be recognized as anesthetists, but the council, after receiving their dues, recognizes them as physician assistants, and they claim that is problematic for their practice. And you had him there talk about a number of things they want the health ministry to do. We'll be delving into that shortly. We're working the phone lines to bring them on to find out what the progress has been. But we are in touch with the National Labour Commission, Mr. Ofosua Samoa. He gave this interview to my colleague Kwete Nate and said that a meeting will be called to address the issue.
When we got the meetings of their intended strike, we referred him to their mother ministry and their employers. The concerns raised and advised them to dialogue or attempt a settlement and inform the commission of what steps they have taken to avert the strike. At the moment, on my team was responding from them. But getting close, I called the Ministry of Employment to the Deputy Minister, and he said that they were still, there was engagements was going on.
But in the interim, what are we looking at in getting them back? Because many of the district hospitals are not doing surgeries.
Well, we were hopeful that the matter would have been resolved by this time. As a commission, we always give the opportunity to the parties to attempt an in-house review, negotiation, dialoguing. And it is only when it fails that we come in. This unnecessary for having proceeded on the strike as he threatened means that negotiations are failed. And we have just come out of the Christmas break today, and therefore the commission will meet on Wednesday and then take the necessary steps.
That is the Executive Secretary of the National Labour Commission, Ofosua Samoa, in that interview with my colleague Kwete Nate earlier. The president of the registered anesthetists gave us an interview and was surprised at the failure of the ministry to invite them over for a meeting. Here's James in Wisagra giving us this interview earlier today.
Many facilities, the district, regional hospitals, district hospitals have no option than to shut down the elective cases. And many of the emergencies that cannot withstand the place were sent to Kompanoche, Kolebu, where they can have attention. Any other thing has come to standstill.
We know that you just met with CHAG. What was the outcome of the meeting?
We have not come to any definitive conclusion. CHAG came in as a mediator and tried to see how they will help to deal with the impasse. We have come to a level that CHAG is now taking the lead to meet the ministry first. So we are reverting to the office and then waiting for any further information, and then we'll decide how we will respond.
So you are calling off your strike?
No, we are not calling off our strike.
Has the ministry or the Medical and Dental Council made any contacts?
Not at all. Not at all. So far as I'm concerned, as a union leader, none of them has approached me yet.
You're live on Top Story here on Joy99.7 FM. My colleague Kweku Asante joins me with an update of the situation. We understand there's a meeting that is ongoing at the Health Ministry. We'll get into that shortly. But Kweku, we've also been checking the impact of the strike on the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. What do we know so far?
So, Ernest, our sources at the hospital are telling us that this strike is beginning to bite, and the hospital management are doing their best to try and find alternatives to these anesthetists who are on strike now. And so management are juggling between a few of the alternatives that they have, whilst they are hoping that government is able to resolve these concerns for the workers to return to work.
And just like the Konfanochi Hospital, we know that we have doctor anesthetists who are there, who are resident at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. They now have to go the extra mile because they do not have their colleagues to support them, and this definitely is having an impact on operations.
And this is that these doctors are going to be stretched because this is not their main responsibility. They have a few other things that they have to do at these hospitals, but because of this strike, they have to step in and do the work. And just like we heard from the Konfanochi Teaching Hospital, some of these doctors have to work long hours to be able to ensure that they're feeling. We know that some of the surgeries that these hospitals have to do are time bound, and so they cannot wait for the. Just like we heard yesterday, there's someone whose surgery has been suspended and postponed. For some, you can't do that, but there are others that are life-saving that you have to do it immediately. And so some of these doctors have been stepping in earnest.
Bottom line, the lives of patients are on the line because of this strike action by the certified registered anesthetists. But Kweku, we are learning of a meeting that is ongoing right now at the Health Ministry. What are the details?
And so we know that the Christian Health Association of Ghana, that's CHAG, and then the Anesthetists Association are currently in a meeting with the Ministry of Health. They are trying to resolve this issue because we know that the association stance is that they want their regulator to recognize them properly. And they do not seem to want to back down on the demands. They are not saying, give us money. They are just saying that recognize us as what we are under your laws, under your regulations. And we know that some of these issues have been coming up recently. There were these strikes of
physician, laboratory scientists
who also had concerns about their relations with medical doctors and other things at the hospital working space. And so the Ministry of Health have all these on their hands to try and resolve this. But at the very present moment, they have to do their best to try and resolve this. And that is why we are learning that this meeting that has been dragging on for some hours now is hoping to resolve.
And of course, we heard also from the Vice President of the association who said that for the short term, what the Health Ministry can do is to set up a desk at the ministry to regulate their practice while they look for a long-term solution. In fact, a former president of the association has said long-term they are looking at parting ways, breaking ranks with the Medical and Dental Council.
It's actually something that has been going on for some time within the health labor union in the country, where some of these health professionals feel like they are not recognized properly as against their colleague medical doctors. And so this concerns that we can just pull away and then form something on our own so that we can be recognized properly is something that is on the table. We also know that just like you said, they want the health ministry to take some stronger stance in terms of setting up this desk to ensure that they are able to juggle this properly.
And so that is a top story here on Joy 99.7 FM. We was built to speak to the president of the registered anesthetists, but we understand that the meeting is currently ongoing at the health ministry. He's unable to talk, as well as CHAG, because they are locked up in that meeting. We were able to get other stakeholders, but unfortunately, the phone lines are not helping us at this moment to bring you up to. But we are monitoring that meeting closely. We'll bring you an update in our subsequent bulletin, perhaps on Newsnight, when this meeting is over, because they are determined to immediately find a solution to the issue. Let's go to Kumasi now, because Ohime Interior joins us with some more on this strike action and the impact that it's having on the Konfanochi Teaching Hospital as well as the Ashanti region, because we're seeing referrals coming to the hospital. Ohime, today you interacted with the head of the anesthesia and intensive care unit. He gave you a brief on how the situation is affecting the operations and how they are putting in place measures to mitigate the impact of the strike. But tell us about patients who have come to the hospital who need to undergo one surgery or need one service or the other. How are they holding up?
Thank you, Ernest. For the patients, all is going on well for them, because at the Konfanochi Teaching Hospital, they are getting the necessary attention, the needed services from the qualified personnel who are providing them with that care. Normally, with strikes of this nature, elective and in most cases, emergency cases are not attended to. But at the Confanoche Teaching Hospital, as we speak now, all these services are being provided. But, at the expense of the few hands providing these services. Let me break this down. The certified registered anesthetists, there are 53 of them at the Confanoche Teaching Hospital. And then we also have physician anesthetists who are mostly medical doctors trained to provide these services. They are 32. So in all, you get 85 of the personnel providing these services, but 53 of them have withdrawn their services from the public. So what it means is that the hospital will have to rely on 32 physician anesthetists to provide and work work in that capacity, work that should have been done by 85 personnel. Only 32 are doing this. And head of the anesthesia intensive care directory, Professor Akwesi Nchukwusi, says that on top of this, the district facilities are not also providing the services that are required. So they are also referring cases to Confanoche Teaching Hospital, a facility that used to see 10 cases. Now the cases have increased to 25 and 30 within a day. And so the situation means that the few hands who are available will have to work, go extra mile. In some instances, they have worked 24 hours without, that kind of sleep or support to be able to relax and even enjoy some sort of rest at the facility at the moment. So that is the situation at Confanoche, Ernest.
Ohimin, thank you very much. That's Ohimin Terry of our health desk. Let's go to Cape Coast now and find out how the strike is impacting operations there. We know we have the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital, which is a major facility in that part of the country. Our correspondent Richard Kojunyaku joins us on the line. Richard, what can you report?
Well, so I can report of the situation at the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital and the Cape Coast Metropolitan Hospital. In fact, the impact of the strike is very huge. What I picked up from the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital is that management has been in a meeting trying to reduce the impact of the strike, and so they are putting in place some mechanisms to reduce the impact of the strike on the people. A lot of people that have been scheduled for their surgery to be done, they have to reschedule their date because of the strike. And so it's been very difficult for them.
Richard, thank you very much for bringing us that update. That's it for Top Story, brought to you by Vodafone. Together we can. My name is Ernest Minu. Newsnight comes your way at the top of the hour 6. Please stay with us.